Good evening, everybody. What is up? Ethan back today with not an album review, but an album war. I've done a few of these in the past. This is where I pick two albums of similar or non-similar qualities, compare them, contrast them, and I pick my favorite of the two. These two albums that I picked today are very similar in the fact that they are solo bands from members who were members of a bigger band previously. So these are their solo albums, actually the first of each solo band of these guys. And they are in the Southern rock genre of rock music. So this is a Southern rock album war, a genre, as you know, I'm really fond of. Done a lot of Southern rock album reviews on my channel. So today we have these two going to war. The first is Danny Joe Brown and the Danny Joe Brown Band, self-titled. First album, released 1981. The second, the Henry Paul Band, their first album, titled Grey Ghost, released in 1979. So, both these guys in previous bands. Henry Paul, as you know, was in the Outlaws. He left the Outlaws after Hurry Sundown, one of their most popular albums, which I love and which I also own, to form this band. So he went solo, got a couple of guys together, and this album sounds very similar to those first couple Outlaws albums. So Henry Paul was a founding member of the Outlaws along with Huey Thomason. So he leaves, creates another band all his own that sounds kind of similar. Not uncommon in rock music for a member of a famous band to leave, but then his stuff sounds a lot like the band he came from or left, And Danny Joe Brown, some of you may know, some of you may not know, but he was the lead singer of Molly Hatchet, a very successful Southern rock band out of Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, who released two albums prior to this, self-titled and Flirting with Disaster, which I both own and have reviewed one of them a couple years ago. But yeah, Danny Joe Brown, kind of the very distinct sounding singer of Molly Hatchet with a real gravelly, kind of gruff voice, real distinctive, I would say. We'll go ahead and look at this album first, since I showed it first. There's a picture of the guys in the band. You got guitarist Bobby Ingram right here, who would later go on to rejoin Molly Hatchet with Danny Joe Brown. So he was not in Molly Hatchet prior, but he joined when Danny Joe Brown, who's right here, joined Molly Hatchet for the second time. He brought this guitarist Bobby Ingram along with him. So let's get into the tracks. It starts off with a song called Sundance, which real kind of Molly Hatchet sounding song. Again, like I touched on before, Danny leaves Molly Hatchet, and this album sounds very similar to Molly Hatchet. Very similar. I actually possibly might prefer this solo album from Danny Joe Brown more than those first two Molly Hatchet albums. Might be kind of a controversial opinion, I don't know, but great album. Okay, I'm getting distracted. Sundance, a real Molly Hatchet kind of slide guitar, kind of funky boogie rock, with a real trademark Danny Joe Brown vocal. The next song has a nice southern swagger boogie rock feel to it. It's a song called Nobody Walks on Me. Really has a lot of like Danny Joe Brown kind of swagger in it, a lot of southern rock confidence and charisma. Think Lynyrd Skynyrd, think Molly Hatchet, the band. Great song. I love the lyrics. And then the third song is a rousing hard rock song with an amazing chorus called The Alamo, about, you guessed it, The Alamo. Just love that song. Twin guitar harmonies all in that song. Blazing solos hard charging, fast song, The Alamo. Check it out. Great song on this album and from this band. The next song, not one of my favorites, 2 Days Home, kind of more of a slow paced, slower tempo, boogie, southern rock, swamp rock, whatever you want to call it. But that's a little, lull in the album, kind of a mediocre song. But then the last song on side one is called Edge of Sundown. Beautiful song. Has a real atmospheric, thoughtful kind of intro with like the wind blowing. Almost feels like a kind of a Western kind of theme, like a cowboy, like a, good and the bad and the ugly, kind of, walking at the edge of sundown, in the kind of abandoned desert town, ghost town, like kind of like old gunslinger type stuff. Danny Joe Brown, he liked that kind of stuff. He wrote a lot of the lyrics of Molly Hatchet and this album kind of have that, gunslinger kind of Western vibe in them for whatever reason. Kind of like Charlie Daniels, kind of like Marshall Tucker, kind of like Outlaws. Very similar in that respect. So Edge of Sundown, love it. Real kind of a builder, kind of like Freebird. Starts out slow and atmospheric and then ends with just hard charging, rampaging, great guitar solos. And this band, I believe, featured 3 guitar players. So just like Molly Hatchet, you had guitars all over it. Just great guitar harmonies, dueling leads. Just really good stuff. I believe it was 3 guitar players, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can check real quick. Not sure, but it's at least 2. So 2, possibly 3 guitar players. So yeah, Edge of Sundown, check that song out. And then side 2 kicks off with a cranking hard rock song with a great riff, almost like a Blackfoot style heavy. A song called Beggar Man, which just straight out of the gate, great guitar riff. A great vocal from Danny on that. Just a great fun, I guess you could call it like a party song. The next song is Run For Your Life. The next 2 songs, Run For Your Life and Hear My Song, I'm not crazy about. They're not my favorite. They're kind of filler. Hear My Song is good. It's kind of melodic. It's got great vocals from Danny. Has kind of a chorus in it that's kind of real catchy. I like that one. Gambler's Dream, that's a fun song. That's Danny kind of telling a story about like going up to Chicago and, gambling with like a, kind of some shady like gunslinger type characters. Playing poker or whatever with like, guys in a bar. It kind of has that kind of feel, kind of like I said, the kind of country and Western kind of theme of like, throwing the dice out and the real sweaty, greasy gunslinger, guys like across from you and you're trying to outwit him or whatever. Kind of a song like that. The lyrics are kind of, they're kind of fun and they're very Danny Joe Brown. Hit the Road, the last song, it's a really good song. Not one of the best on the album, but still a really great Molly Hatchet type rocker. So yeah, that's Danny Joe Brown and the Danny Joe Brown Band. Self-titled, really great album. I mean, for me, my favorite songs would probably be Nobody Walks on Me, The Alamo, Edge of Sundown, and Beggar Man. So really, those 4 songs are just killer. And the rest is really good to okay. But really no bad song on the album. It's just some are a lot better than others that I prefer. You gotta have favorites. So yeah, that's that one. So going against this one, Grey Ghost by the Henry Paul Band, former guitarist and singer in the Outlaws, a very famous southern rock band from the 70s from Tampa, Florida. It kicks off with a song called So Long, which is great kickoff, southern rock, very Outlaws type song. He sang in those first couple of Outlaws albums. These sound very similar because he has a very distinct singing style, kind of more melodic and softer than like a Danny Joe Brown, who has more of a gruff growl. Henry Paul is much more like a country singer. The Outlaws, as you know, were kind of like a country southern rock band. I don't like country a lot, but the country in here is the kind of country that I can really tolerate. And he has a sort of a country inflection, a softness to his voice. And he really incorporated that into the Outlaws as well. And he just takes that right into this album as if he never left the Outlaws. Honestly, if someone told me this was an Outlaws album and I didn't know, I'd probably believe them. Yeah, So Long, great song. Crossfire is another great song. That's a great 1-2 punch. Foolin' and Woodwind, not as crazy about those. They're kind of filler. Well, not filler, but just not as strong as some of the other tracks. Woodwind is an instrumental. It's kind of really cool. To Inside One, you have the lengthy, atmospheric, melancholy epic Grey Ghost, which is kind of a tribute to the fallen heroes of most Southern rock bands, Lynyrd Skynyrd in particular, Ronnie Van Zant, the kind of leader of that band, and of the Southern rock genre in general. Grey Ghost is just kind of a somber tribute, kind of a send-off song to the fallen heroes of their heroes in the Southern rock genre. So really great song, Grey Ghost, kind of their free bird, if you will. Side 2 is a song called I Don't Need You No More. Good fun, kind of dual harmony with some great guitar work. Lonely Dreamer is the next song. Really fun, poppy, country rock, Southern rock type song, as all these are. One Night Stands is a fun song. You Really Know What I Mean. Really kind of pop, rock, country rock, Southern rock song with great vocals and great guitar leads. Great guitar leads all throughout this album, much like the Outlaws. Very similar. It closes with a song called All I Need, which is a real kind of Atlanta rhythm section type pop rock melodic song. Just really catchy. Kind of sounds like a radio song or a radio hit. I don't think it was, but it sounds like it could have been. I'm not somebody who likes a lot of pop music, but that is a great pop rock, Southern rock song. All I Need, to Inside 2. Check it out. Really great song. Great vocals, especially. Just melodic and catchy and memorable. Really kind of sounds like the Outlaws to me. And like I said, a little bit Atlanta rhythm section. So yeah, these two albums, love them both. Two great debuts from solo artists who left bigger bands to form their own bands, pave their own path. Which do I prefer? They're very similar in the fact that they're solo albums, they're Southern rock, they're the first albums from each band, but you gotta pick, right? Let's see. I love the Outlaws. I love Molly Hatchet. As a band, I think I prefer the Outlaws more than Molly Hatchet. But, in this situation, in this scenario, in this case, I have to go with Danny Joe Brown. This is a great album. Why, you might ask, would I pick this one over Grey Ghost? It's heavier. The guitars are rampaging. I started out liking more metal music, like Metallica is one of my favorite bands from when I was a teenager. Kind of, as I've gotten older, I like softer stuff, more varied stuff, Southern rock, country, jazz, blues, stuff like that. But this is a real heavy Southern rock album. Not that this is not good, it's just not as heavy and hard charging as the Danny Joe Brown one. This is more, like I mentioned, a country, mellower, poppier Southern rock album, whereas this is just a slide guitar riff-o-rama with great and Danny, just the way he sings, Danny Joe Brown, it's so fun. It's just so Southern rock the way he sounds, and the way this album sounds. It's just a blast, this whole album. So I'm gonna go with this one today, beating Grey Ghost by the Henry Paul Band. You could say this gets a 92 and this gets maybe an 89. It's close. They're both really good. I would say 4.5 out of 5 stars, and this is probably 4 out of 5 stars. Both really great, both classic. But yeah, today I got to go with Danny Joe Brown and the Danny Joe Brown Band with that great shot of Danny on the front there. Love it. Thank you for watching this album war. 2 great albums, one had to win. So yeah, it was a great battle. lasted many rounds, lasted, close in the fourth quarter, but in the end, one team had to win, right? So, yeah, thank you for watching this album review. Hopefully there will be more. Stay tuned.